Big NFL updates. Raiders' next move could change everything. NFL insider Diana Rossini just dropped a big report. According to her sources, the Las Vegas Raiders are actively looking at veteran quarterbacks, both in free agency and trade options. This even includes the possibility of trading for a current starting quarterback. That's a major signal that the Raiders aren't fully committed to their current quarterback situation and might be planning a big move. Yesterday, we talked about Aidan O'Connell working with Tom Brady, watching tape and sharpening his skills. A lot of fans believe he should be the guy moving forward. And honestly, that makes sense. He's young, has potential, and could develop into something special. But if the Raiders are exploring other quarterbacks, it tells us that behind the scenes, they're not 100% sold on him leading the team just yet. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. There have been whispers about Kirk Cousins as an option for the Raiders. He had a season-ending injury 2 years ago, and last season wasn't his best. But now that he's healthy, could he be the guy? Some people think it's a possibility, but honestly, I'm not convinced. Another name floating around? Sam Darnold. He's one of the few quarterbacks available that still has some upside. Unlike some other veterans, there's still a bit of mystery about what he can become. Geno Smith's name has also come up, and with all the moves Seattle has been making, like releasing key players and dealing with trade requests, it wouldn't be shocking if he ends up available. Bottom line, the Raiders are cooking up something, and in just a few days we'll know exactly what their plan is. Stay tuned because things are about to get very interesting. Big changes in Seattle and what it means for the Raiders. The Seahawks are making some serious moves, and honestly, it looks like they're about to hit the reset button. They've released key defensive players, starters, not just backups, which is a strong sign that a full rebuild could be on the way. And if that's the case, there's a real chance that Geno Smith could be on the move too. Now, let's be honest, Geno Smith has been decent. He did his job, but was he ever really the guy who could take a team all the way to a Super Bowl? Probably not. And that's exactly why the Raiders should think twice before making a move for him. If they're looking for a quarterback who can truly elevate the team, Geno might not be the best bet. Then there's Sam Darnold. He's 27, still young enough to have potential, but let's be real. He's not exactly a guaranteed superstar either. There's upside, sure, but is it enough? That's the big question. What's really interesting is that instead of focusing on drafting a young quarterback, the Raiders seem much more interested in the veteran market. They're exploring free agency and potential trades, which means they might not see a long-term answer in the draft. Names like Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, or Cameron Ward have come up, but with every passing day, it seems less likely that the Raiders will take that route. And speaking of big moves, there's another name making headlines, DK Metcalf. NFL insider Mike Garafolo just reported that multiple teams have shown interest in trading for the Seahawks' star wide receiver. And guess what? The Raiders are one of the teams that reached out aggressively. If they actually pull this off, it would be a game changer. So, what does this all mean? It means the Raiders aren't just sitting back. They're working on something big behind the scenes, and with free agency only days away, we won't have to wait much longer to find out what their next move is. Buckle up. Things are about to get interesting. Raiders in the mix for a game-changing move. Big news is breaking, and this one could shake up the league. 3 teams are rumored to be in the race for DK Metcalf, the Las Vegas Raiders, Carolina Panthers, and Green Bay Packers. But here's the catch. Only one of these teams seems to have real momentum, and that's the Raiders. NFL insider Mike Garafolo just revealed that Pete Carroll made it clear at the NFL Combine that he's fully committed to DK Metcalf. But while Carroll might want to keep his star receiver, the situation isn't that simple. The Raiders, on the other hand, are seriously considering making a move. Why? Because Las Vegas needs a true number. 1 wide receiver. Right now, they're missing that explosive, dominant playmaker on the outside. Metcalf could be the missing piece, a deep threat, a physical mismatch, and a game-changer in the red zone. Pair him with Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, and suddenly the Raiders' offense looks completely different. But here's the challenge. Metcalf isn't coming cheap. He's got 1 year left on his current deal, and he's looking for a big money extension, somewhere between $25 to $35 million per year. That's a lot of cash. However, if the Raiders are serious about competing, this could be the kind of move that takes them to the next level. And the best part? The actual trade price might not even be that high. If Seattle decides to move him, it could take only a third or fourth round pick to get the deal done. That's a bargain for a player of Metcalf's caliber. The question now is, will the Raiders pull the trigger? With free agency right around the corner, we're about to find out. Stay locked in, because things are heating up fast. The Raiders' free agency puzzle: who stays, who goes? With 27 pending free agents, the Las Vegas Raiders have some tough decisions to make. They've already locked in 8 players, including 7 returning names and Alex Kappa, who was recently released by the Bengals. But that still leaves a long list of unresolved contracts, and time is running out. We're just 3 days away from the legal tampering period, where teams can start negotiating deals with free agents. Once that clock hits 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on March 10th, deals will start flying in. Expect at least 6 major signings within the first hour. And while those agreements won't be finalized until March 12th, teams will have already made their moves. So why haven't the Raiders prioritized some of their key players yet? Could this mean guys like Malcolm Kunze and Trevin Moehrig are being encouraged to test the market? It wouldn't be surprising. If another team offers them $18 to $20 million a year, the Raiders may just let them walk. But is that the right call? Take Trevin Moehrig, for example. He's a homegrown talent, drafted by the Raiders, and while some teams might throw big money at him, he's probably worth closer to $15 million. Letting him go without a solid replacement could be a risky move. And then there's Malcolm Kunze, one of the most underrated pieces of the Raiders' defense. If they lose him, that's a huge gap to fill. Sure, the team might hope to re-sign him later if he doesn't get the deal he wants elsewhere. But playing that waiting game is dangerous. Another team could swoop in and make an offer he can't refuse. The reality: the Raiders need to be strategic. Some players will walk, others might return, but if they wait too long, they could lose key pieces of their roster, pieces they might struggle to replace. The clock is ticking. Free agency is about to get wild, and the Raiders have some big decisions to make. Who stays? Who goes? We're about to find out. Max Crosby. The Raiders' heartbeat or a trade asset? Let's talk about something huge. There's a rumor floating around that a team was willing to trade 3 first-round picks for Max Crosby. Yeah, you heard that right. 3 first-rounders. Now, we can't say for sure if this is 100% true, but let's assume it is. Would the Raiders be making a mistake by turning that offer down? From a pure football perspective, 3 first-round picks could reshape the franchise. That's enough firepower to bring in top-tier talent, rebuild the defense, or even snag a future superstar quarterback. A deal like that doesn't come around often. But here's the thing. Max Crosby isn't just a player. He's the soul of the Raiders. He's the guy who sets the tone. The guy everyone in the locker room respects. The guy who turns good players into great ones. Think about it. When Crosby talks, people listen. When he leads, players follow. That's why guys like Clowen Chason and Adam Butler have improved under his leadership. His influence goes way beyond just sacks and tackles. And let's not forget, he's the type of leader who shows up for everything. Team meetings, charity events, even those weekly leadership summits that most people don't know about. Players respect him because he puts in the work, and that's something you can't replace with draft picks. So, should the Raiders have taken the deal? It depends on how you look at it. If you're thinking about the long-term rebuild, 3 first-rounders sound like a dream. But if you're thinking about keeping the team's identity intact, trading Crosby would have been a disaster. Bottom line: Max Crosby isn't just a star. He's the heart and soul of the Raiders. And some things are just too valuable to trade. What do you think? Would you have taken the deal? Or did the Raiders make the right call? Let's talk. Max Crosby's future. the biggest question for the Raiders. Here's the thing about Max Crosby. He's not just another player. He's a guy who gives everything to the game. Some players just show up, collect a paycheck, and move on. Crosby isn't one of them. But let's get real for a second. Would a team really offer 3 first-round picks for him? It's a bold claim, and while Crosby is a beast on the field, it's rare for teams to give up that much for a player who's almost 29. Usually, those blockbuster trades happen for younger stars, guys who are 23 or 24, fresh off a rookie deal and just entering their prime.